Willie Do? Special, welcome to a special episode.
Yes.
On the Lew Later airwaves. We're not doing the news today. Instead, we're going to use this opportunity to do sort of an FAQ. Because over the weekend, stuff happened. Things happened. You can probably tell from the desk over here. That's a lot of devices and items on the desk.
Yes.
Of course, I'm talking about Later case. You've got the website open. This is a recent development as far as the public is concerned, but it's a thing that's been going on for a little while in the background, though some people might not necessarily perceive that at first, taking a look from the outside, taking a glance at it. So I just wanted to give a little bit more background and also answer some of the questions that came flying back as a consequence of this particular thing existing. That thing on your screen.
This thing right here?
Where's mine? There's too many things on the desk here. Where's mine? There's mine. This thing, that thing existing. Yeah, Jack's standing in the corner, by the way, as well. This thing. Actually, this is a good place to start because this is the Pixel 4 XL. And, well, it's kind of a sad story, the Pixel 4 XL, because a lot of people just didn't end up liking his phone that much. A lot of people had higher expectations. Well, I don't want to get sidetracked, but some people weren't fully into the Pixel 4 and 4 XL. I, however, am still using it. I've used all the Pixel devices, and the Pixel devices were a big part of the motivation to actually get into this space because I had begun to enjoy the idea of these carbon-style, super thin cases. And when I would switch between devices, as you would, if you were me, you're switching devices all the time. You would go to some next device and you would miss the texture. You'd go back to the glass, the typical glass that's on everything and the fingerprints and the rest of it. And you would miss this texture. And so I would go to some device where there would actually be no version of this thin style, carbon style case. Pixel being one of them. I'm talking not anywhere. Well, you can't find it. You go looking around. You're willing to order all these different places. You can't find it. And so that was the origin story of, okay, well, what if I make it? Well, that leads you down. Well, that's a can of worms. I'll tell you what. You start out with the best intentions. Next thing you know, you're swimming with a can of worms. A can of worms.
Yeah. Everything's up in flames.
So you say you want to make it, but of course you can't make one of these things. You can't just go to some factory and be like, I'll take one. They're not interested in making one. Oh, for the record, I should give just quick backstory. This is a Kevlar style, carbon style material. It's a synthetic. It's not plastic for people who are saying I could get that for $2. It's not plastic at all. When you touch the case, you will realize that it is not plastic. It was invented somewhere in the 60s by DuPont. It's used in all kinds of different industrial applications, from like bulletproof vests to sporting equipment. And you buy it in sheets. So you got a cool picture there, actually, of a sheet of this stuff. And you can actually get these sheets in various colors. You buy the whole... You see that? And it has these weaves to it. It's actually, as far as an industrial material is concerned, very exciting compared to something like plastic. That said, plastic serves its purpose in many ways. We don't have any of this stuff we like without plastic either. So maybe you don't want a plastic case, but you need plastic too. So this is what they use for body armor, as I said. Many layers of it. This is a very thin version. It's fire resistant as well. I don't know how important that is on these cases. Maybe with what was that Note series? Was it the Note 9? 7? Well, yeah, it was older. It was way back. Samsung forgot about that. Don't worry about that.
The worst case.
Okay, so I fell in love with this particular material. And one of the ways that happened was actually this case right here. Well, not this exact one, because this is for the 7T. But I started using this OnePlus case on the 6T, the OnePlus 6T, popular device, you may recall. And it's a similar construction, obviously, utilizing the same industrial material. And I liked it for a number of reasons over plastic. A lot of it had to do with the touch, the thinness, the lightness, and so forth. Jack wants to see it. He's standing over there. He might as well see it. So this is a newer one, first party. Now, I'm not a huge fan of having the logo. I like the no logo look myself. But when OnePlus would send you the reviewer's kit for the upcoming device, they usually send one of these, and they actually also send one of these. I realize this is an insane amount of detail right now, and I'm going to get, I know look at all these bags and revisions on the table. It's an insane amount of detail right now, but I promise you I'll get to the point here.
Well, you want to be thorough.
I'm going to cover all of it.
Clear.
But this one, on the other hand, what's interesting is it's also thin and light, but it has like a sandstone finish to it. So I was never a huge fan of that texture, comparatively speaking. But just so you know, there's lots of versions of this out there. This one was always more interesting to me in the form of the OnePlus 6T. So this is actually the one I was on a daily basis using. Believe it or not, I was never daily basis using a Kevlar style case on other devices. This was the crystal moment. When I moved over to whatever version of Pixel came out after that, that's when I lost sleep at night. Mm-hmm. I said, where's my version? So I started thinking about it, knowing that one day I would want to affect the availability of such things. Mm-hmm. All right. So the Pixel started it. I went out and started to look at how I might get this manufactured, coming to realize that you're going to need substantial volume to make any of this make any sense, particularly if you want to do any degree of customization to the material itself, the construction itself. I don't know how much depth to go into. Well, first of all, if you're not into cases at all, you could just click off right now because we're going to go into some degree of detail over the manufacturing process. Because you might look at this at first glance and say to yourself, oh, what'd you do? You picked that up off at the flea market.
Yeah.
You ordered that
AliExpress.
Yeah, you ordered it off AliExpress. Exactly. And it's true. There are plenty of cases made out of this material on AliExpress for various prices. Now, some people have sent images of Alibaba, the actual wholesale site, and they're like, look, it's $15 to get the case. The $15 version has crazy minimum orders. You have to order 100 or something like this. And even there, so you'll see there's also TPU cases, plastic cases that have this carbon printed on them. That's the one that you're seeing over there. And so somebody's like, I could get this for $1, but those aren't made out of the same material, obviously. Eventually, you'll find one on there. There you go. That one's real carbon on the far. Nope, you missed it. It was to the right of that. There you go. That one's real carbon. Now, as you can see, it was $49 marked down for $25, and it's a Black Friday deal. Actually, it ends in one day and 12 hours or whatever it happens to be. Now, the real problem with this case, well, first of all, is the fact you don't know the reliability of the seller. You don't know the precision of the actual product. You're not sure who's really behind it from a brand perspective. So you take a bit of a risk when you order it there. But the worst part of this is if you look down, the estimated delivery is 39 to 59 days. And then there's a 60-day buyer protection. If you get it, you get it on the 59th day.
Yep.
You got 1 day of buyer. But anyway, you know how this goes. It's tough to order this stuff, to trust buying it from there. There's obviously some sort of margin baked in there, which actually this brings me to my next point. A lot of people, actually, I don't want to get into cost yet. I'll get there in a moment. But I want to speak more to what we try to do with this particular case now and how this is different from just ordering up. Because a lot of people immediately said, well, not a lot of people, a handful of people said, oh, you just ordered up 1,000 units from a listing like this, right? These bags over here, they represent somewhere in the neighborhood, I'll just show Jack, somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 months worth of revisions. Mm-hmm. I know you think this is crazy right now. Will, I know you think this is crazy right now. You're sitting there going, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's just a shell. Believe it or not, this is a tougher process than you might imagine. And what this material and this company and these cases, what it's all about is small little refinements. It's not, this is not some type of overhaul. You're relying here on the material. You're relying on this particular scientific development from the 60s, which is an alternative to plastic. But actually, if you were using plastic, you'd be in the same boat. You'd be thinking about how to make improvements. So the reason for so many revisions, Jack, since you're standing over there, is because you would go make one, and if you had a strong attention to detail, or if you're just a weirdo like myself, you would say, I think this can be a little bit better. And so an example here is S9 with relief cuts, bad apertures. This bag, Note 10, improved flash and relief, key cutout. I'll show you this actual change right here because I have it in front of me. So this is one of the devices that went through two variations. I hope Jack can see this. It's possible. I'm going to just lift that up a little higher. There, you can see it, okay? Now, this is minor to the average person, and there's no way this is showing up on an AliExpress link. But you have two different relief cuts, okay? Showing, yes, there you go, Jack. You changed your aperture. Talking about apertures. So you can see two different relief cuts here. One of them, this one over here, is in the shape of a keyhole. So there's a little circular cutout and then a straight line. The new version of that, or one of the later revisions, changed that to a teardrop style, as you can see right there. And it's a slightly larger relief cut as a whole. Now you're saying to yourself, why would you spend 7 months modifying small details like this? And the reason being is because from the moment I started using these cases, I realized there's a certain kind of anxiety-inducing process of removing the cases from your devices. Mm-hmm. When you go, and I'm not, for the record, I'm not naming any brands that are currently doing this. It's fine. Everybody's got their angle, and people are out there selling their products. It's fine. But there are some popular products on the market where this process is not all that easy. The removal. And I'll give you an example on this particular iPhone right here. Maybe Jack can pick this up. Right in this section, right around here. And it's very subtle. But what happens is if the case fits too tight, you end up really forcing on the corner to kind of remove it, and you apply a lot of pressure to some of the thinner regions of the case construction. And over time, if you're the kind of person that has to remove their case, which I'm not sure how much of a problem that is for the average person, but for me, it's a problem. Because I'm switching SIM cards a lot. And so I need to have the confidence of popping the thing on and off. And also, in the future, I think the idea, for me, the user experience, it does get that detailed. It does get that specific. That is part of how you feel about the product. If the thing is lock-jawed on there, it's a bit of a sour taste.
Yeah, you don't want to drop your phone.
Just trying to get the case off. Yeah. So there's some other differences between this case and some of the modifications that were made. This one has a kind of grip applied to it, as you can see on Jack's camera there. There's a kind of grip applied to it, which some people might like. Nothing against it. It gives you a little more tackiness to it, but it does change the finish of the device, as you can see over there. So we had the choice going in. Again, if you were to look through all these various revisions, I mean, it's crazy. There's different finishes, different aperture rings, ramps that were tested, all kinds of different elements there. We actually landed on something kind of in between the raw feel and a little bit of grip. So what you end up with here is actually more of the fibers when you touch, which is actually, for me, again, a weirdo.
You're a texture guy.
I don't know. There's just something about that, even compared to the OnePlus case, which has a thicker finish applied to it.
It's more smooth.
It just ends up smooth. This one ends up smooth. That one ends up tacky. And this one that we ended up going with, the finish that we ended up going with, fits somewhere between the two, but you can absolutely feel the texture of the pattern, okay, of the Kevlar pattern in there. So that was important to me. Now, this particular Pixel case, I should let people know, okay? So the reason it's crazy, because I'm going all over the map here, but the reason it's crazy to go up and make this case is because it's low demand, all right? Or even for some of these modifications on other devices. If you're a guy like me and you say, look, I want to go out and make what I think is a better case for a wide variety of users on the channel who, I'm talking about Unbox Therapy, who use all different devices. The problem you bump into is how do you pick which devices to make and what is that volume going to look like? And do you have a big enough audience to justify so you're not just actually losing money every time you have to retool for a new device that the demand might not be there? And so this will get us into the pricing part of the conversation because a lot of people are saying, get out of my face with the $45, which is cool. That's fine, honestly. I really don't want to force anybody or imply that you have to get this thing.
Yeah.
But kind of what ends up happening is if you want to support this wide variety of devices, you're actually taking a larger risk because this pixels in general, when I polled the audience, it's about 3% of our audience. Not a popular phone. Like I said, most people don't like it. Me and you are the weirdos, Will.
Yeah.
We're into it. So you distribute the risk, and we're in the weeds in the business side of things, but this is all stuff you have to consider. You distribute the risk across a wider variety of options. And you might sell, no word of a lie, you might sell 700 iPhone versions of this to sell 50 Pixel versions of this.
Right.
And let me tell you, when you show up with this, like I told you earlier, you're not saying, hey, I'll just take one or two. You're already deep to reconfigure the setup and to hit the minimum requirement. You're deep.
I mean, we talked about this slightly, about the retooling of a certain phone.
Yes.
How much did that cost?
It costs a lot of money. To do another phone that isn't currently supported or being manufactured by
And that's different from the regular version and then the large.
every time,
right? The Plus
every
or the
single
Pro.
time you have a new form factor, you have to retool, which is the most cost is associated with that part of it. You have to retool. And so then you have to be sitting there saying, well, I'm a Pixel owner. I want this case. I can't be the only one. And then sure enough, since the case has launched, a lot of other Pixel owners have actually bought this. All right. Shipments have actually gone out today. That's another component I'm going to get to about how it matters where the product is warehoused. And there's costs associated with warehousing the product somewhere that isn't China. Right. So then that factors into the actual cost. You end up paying for the convenience of being able to get it the next day, have customer service that's based locally that you can talk to or email, and have a familiar website that can ship to a lot of places relatively quickly. All right. So I just want to cover a couple more changes before I get into those other topics. So I have also one of the devices that went through the most alterations was actually the Galaxy S10 series, S10 and S10 Plus. So I have a couple early versions which I can show you. This is the standard S10, and you can see it has a relatively large aperture on the back over here. Now you may notice that, you might not care about that, but it was something that stood out to me. A relatively large aperture and a little ramp kind of protecting the camera cutout. And if you flip to the top of the device, you'll see over here that you have the frame of the phone and you have the case construction just below that. All right, you can see the depth of it right there. And when you go to remove this case, I had that moment of not finding the satisfactory kind of confidence-inspiring type of feel that some of the other cases were able to achieve. And so you move to the second version of that case, and you see the aperture is shrunk. And this is the most important. On the top of the frame, you're able to move the frame itself of the case lower on the phone. And what this does is provides more relief so that when you go to remove one of the corners of the phone, you have this extra play. You see this? More flex available to you because you've actually removed some of the strength. Now this, I should be clear, this is not going to be the same for everyone. Some people might say, I would rather the thing be stuck on there like glue. Well, that's fair. Maybe you put the case on and you're just, for life, you just leave it there. But for me, that's not what I wanted. I want to be able to get the case on and off really easily and not be worrying about it. Now, I should also mention at this point, actually, for anybody who bought the case, if you're out there, thank you, appreciate it, I should say. There is an actual, it's not an official instruction, but there's some advice on how to remove it, which is from the side, not the top. So what you actually want to do is pop off, and I love the way this releases on the Pixel, by the way. It's addictive how easily it...
It's a nice little click.
Oh, it's addictive how easily it pops off. I'm telling you, there's effort that went into that. So from the side, you can see it comes off so easily. You just don't even mind popping the thing on and off. It's a beautiful kind of moment there. So anyway, it's these types of little considerations that take tremendous amounts of time, believe it or not. I am not pretending to have pioneered the idea of this particular nylon fiber. That, like I said, this has been in industrial use.
You can buy in sheets.
From the 60s.
Yes.
I at no point am I claiming that taking any responsibility for that. This is a refinement process. This was me looking at the products that were available to me and seeing room for improvement. Not a massive overhaul, room for improvement, and most importantly, support for devices that weren't getting it because the volume wasn't there. And then that's where the new site comes in, and that's where I actually encourage people to go and take a look. This is the entire reason why at launch we had a voting mechanism in place for people to select which the next devices that would be supported would be, because the intention was always to take a material that in this particular industrial application has room to grow, and to say to people, and to just have more people experience it than are currently doing so. That was the goal. So you go ahead, you put a vote in, you'll see it will populate with whichever phone you're hoping to get the case for. You put your vote in, and then you'll be notified if that particular device rises to the top of the vote sheet. So you can tell the original motivation was around getting this material on as many phones as possible. That I'm telling you right now, even if you want to spend money on AliExpress or wherever you want to go, if you want to get whatever version they're willing to sell, whatever revision you want to order for a 59-day delivery, it's just not going to be available more than likely for your particular model. And I don't want to end it here. This is the Pixel today, which is the outlier in terms of popularity. But the goal is to support devices that are even more niche than that, because once I did the poll on YouTube, man, you come to find out people, they own Xiaomi, they own Huawei. When I was using the P30 Pro every day, I had to go back to a plastic case. Drove me crazy. It was the exact same moment I had with the Pixel of where is the thin case for that device? And of course it didn't exist. Nobody was doing it. Nobody was making it. So that need right there was the motivation for the brand in the first place to somehow solve that. You can see the devices listed here: OnePlus 7 Pro, Galaxy Note 9, OnePlus 6T, OnePlus 6, Galaxy S9 Plus, Xiaomi Pocophone F1, OnePlus 7T, Apple iPhone 8, 8 Plus, Galaxy S9, and of course, this is just the top part of the list. There's many more, and you can go and suggest your device as well, which, like I said, I encourage you to actually do. So now I just want to get to some more practical stuff, okay? Got that out of the way. Is this case protective, Lou? Not really. That's not really the objective here. You know, I'm full transparency. When I put this case on, I'm not chucking my phone around. I'm not going to the job site. The reason that I like this case, and it does not have to apply to absolutely everyone, is because I enjoy the texture. I like the limited amount of protection. I love the fact that the interaction with the phone is essentially unaltered. And I love the fact that this limited texture that I mentioned stays in your pocket a bit better. Because I've ran into numerous people who have dropped their phone without a case because it slipped out of their pocket. Not because they were clumsy, not because they were doing some crazy stunt, but because they were getting out of their car. And the glass on the phone just makes it so frictionless that, especially if you're wearing some basketball shorts or something, or some comfy clothes, you know, I got some pretty comfy pants most days.
Yeah.
It's not a tight jean.
Right out the pocket.
I mean, I haven't worn a tight jean in years.
Really? No, you've worn tight jeans.
No, not in years, man. This is not jeans.
Some skinny jeans?
No, this is not jeans. This might look like a jean. I'm telling you, that's cotton.
Jeggings?
It's practically, it's a comfort thing for me. So I've had devices slip out of my pocket when they're caseless, nothing on there. So that was the main motivation. Okay, stop those things. Focus on that limited number of targets. If you are a person who is in a different environment or drops the stuff regularly or just has different needs, I respect that. I understand when you saw the dramatic video from upstairs. Is Lew talking to me? I love this tank that I got. You know what, man? Go for it. If my lifestyle was different, I can make the case for one of those cases too. But my lifestyle is not different. And the bet here was that a lot of people probably have similar needs, and that certainly in the case of some of these devices, those needs were not being met. And so that's what you're aiming at, that group. But no, please don't slam this thing. There's no need for a drop test. You don't have to do it. That's not really the intention here. It offers a slight degree of personalization. It gives you a little bit more texture to grip onto compared to glass. And most importantly, in the pocket, it gives just enough friction to not slide out of the pocket as a glass phone would, and I'm sure a lot of people have experienced. And the interaction with the device stays identical. Okay, when will my device be supported? So the voting mechanism is brand new. It's fresh. Things are still being figured out. This is all this product is a consequence of intimate interaction with actual manufacturing facilities and back and forth. And my partner has been in China. What? How many times? 3 times? How many times have you been to China? 4 times over the course of this process, because you really do have to be there. When you're talking about these minor modifications and choices, you have to kind of be there. I didn't even get to all of them, honestly. Like you can see here, here's a common application of the flash cutout that's currently exists in the world. Here's the modification to a completely separate aperture. In Will's case, he's got an image on the screen there of the camera ramp, the pre-existing camera ramp, the proposed camera ramp on revision 1 of the S10 case, and then you can move to the other slide. There's the modification to trim it down and to slim it out and just give it a better overall fit. Like these are the types of things that have to happen. So you can't just snap your fingers and support the devices immediately that are being voted for, but we are paying attention, and one aim is around device launches to try to be as quick as possible to potentially get the models in action and get the accessories as close to launch as possible. So that's a goal in the future for high-profile devices, and well, for any device that is possible to support. But as I mentioned, the business case for which ones to support is very complicated. As far as costs are concerned, you're talking about, like I said earlier, tooling up. You have the cost of tooling up. Then you have the material cost, the manufacturing cost. Then you have the shipping cost because we do everything is warehoused here. That's not free to do.
Yeah.
You have to factor all of this into your margin. So you warehouse it here for the convenience of the shipping and so forth. And so you have more control, so you can inspect. So you know what's actually going out. And so we had to factor that all in, plus the minimum order. You had to factor that all in. But it's looking good for certain devices right now that are at the top of that list. Can I just buy the cheaper case from the mega online store, Lou? So that would be AliExpress. That one's 1 cent. That's TPU, though. So, yes, you can buy that one. That is a plastic case with a carbon paint job on it. You can buy that for 1 cent, marked down from $2.50 to $2.79.
Take about 50 days, though.
It will take 50 days.
Ship.
But, Will, what do you get for 1 cent these days? You don't get much. You can you can absolutely buy whatever you want. The only thing is I can't speak to it. My goal here, hopefully, and it's a tough target. The goal here is to provide everybody with the experience you would want, right? And you can see the nitpicking I'm doing here is like around relief cuts, easy on and off, camera cutouts, ramps versus rings.
The whole operation.
The whole operation, you're doing it because you have things you want.
Yeah, not just the case itself, but the packaging,
but
the
some
website,
people,
logistics.
Some people out there don't want to believe that you care, that you. I mean, there's some dialogue out there that some comments or whatever that kind of want to believe that you're not involved, that you just drop shipped 1,000 things. That's a cooler story. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I think this is a cooler story, to be honest, because this has been a cool experience, and it's been so cool, actually, I don't even want to stop here. Like, there's some other stuff that's been shown to me. I'll actually give a quick little glance at it right now. This, for example, seems interesting. It has some issues right now. This is a Kevlar frame with a wood veneer, real wood veneer. You know I love wood, leather, natural materials are really interesting and cool as well. Now, the thing gets a bit thicker as a consequence of the veneer and also a bit more rigid. So this, as far as a future product is concerned, will require the same attention and changes and manufacturing processes. It will require the same thing to get to a point where I would say, okay, I feel like that one meets the criteria. To be honest, there were devices we ditched. What was the device we ditched? Note 9. So we ditched the Note 9 because we weren't happy with the fit. After it was all said and done, the manufacturing process going through with the revisions said, forget about the Note 9. It was ready to go, but the fit was wrong. Huh. It wasn't. So to come full circle on it, yes, you can just go onto AliExpress and buy whatever, but I can't vet that for you. And so if that's worth it to you and you want to save some money, more power to you. You might score big. You might get it, and it's just a perfect version on there of a carbon style case, and you live your life and you love your life, and it's fantastic. But if you want to skip over some of that and know that you have my personal verification on it, plus the other elements that go with it, the site that was built and the local customer service of the local warehouse, then you can go this way, and you can interact with us, and you can help support us to move towards these various other projects and interesting things that I think might also be worth doing down the road. Why are you still talking about this stinking case? I can't believe I wrote that. That's kind of funny. Yeah, some people probably just don't. Some people don't want to get with the case idea, and I guess the message there is that's cool too. Nothing really changes. There's lots of stuff to do and talk about. This doesn't change the channels at all. It was important that it was going to be able to be a thing that could be done in conjunction, even with all this. So I have partners in place that are helping to manage certain aspects of it so I can make the key decisions and see the progress. But at the same time, I don't personally need to be in China. So that's cool. But so basically, expect things. If you're not into this case, expect things to proceed as usual.
And you want to do something that's custom.
Oh
right?
yeah, that's the other thing I should say. So I get approached all the time for projects.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know this, but I get approached all the time for merch. I've mostly avoided doing merch because I can't understand where can I add value. I can't figure it out. What am I slapping a badge? Okay, it's cool. People want to support and be and participate in a community. That's really been amazing, and I appreciate that. But I thought to myself, here's an opportunity beyond just a t-shirt or something where I feel like instead of taking cotton, which came out before this material, long before, instead of taking cotton, maybe some modifications and things, maybe working in this space, I could actually provide people with a little more value and actually improve something that's out there. And so that was the angle. Okay, the last one here that I have on this list, or maybe I have more than one. Last one, second last one. Second last one. Why is this case $45, you bum?
I asked that question.
Did you ask that already? Yeah, so I think I'm just going to reiterate at this point that it's part of the whole operation of making the thing sustainable with the end goal of supporting as many devices as possible. You have to sort of subsidize the lesser known devices and make it worth the warehousing cost and the various other costs associated with running a business like this, which is why you're not seeing other manufacturers attempting it right now. And so as far as being a kind of the goal being a reliable place to get a similar experience regardless of which smartphone you use. And I know that's tough to say right now because there's a lot of people with smartphones that are not currently supported on the site. But with that being the end goal, this is kind of where you start. This is kind of how the thing starts. So I'll just give people a little behind the scenes. The 11 Pro Max, by far the most popular case to this point in terms of sales. The Pixel, it did okay, but it's still barely on the radar. So funny enough, certain devices like the Note 10, non-big Note 10, not a lot of attention. So this is the kind of thing that over time you figure out and you eat those losses along the way as you figure it out. And the entire ecosystem of individuals interacting with the brand and product help to boost up your ability to keep going forward with that intention. As opposed to, say, pricing it really low and kind of, or slim margins and kind of just only being able to support the devices that are most reliable for you. And then it just ends up with the predictable devices, which is not interesting to me. That was not the original goal or motivation since I was the person on the Pixel, like saying to myself, where is this case that I want? And so we'll see how things go. There's no guarantee that any venture works or any experiment or any project for that matter. But so far, there's been a lot of people who came out and supported. And to them, I appreciate it, especially since they didn't have this video at the time that they did it.
Right.
They had the dramatic thing, which was fun to make, but in retrospect, I think people deserve to know a little bit more about sort of what we've been up to. And I should also say, just before I take off, I should also say, I mean, I hope I've answered every question. I'm sure there's going to be more. I reached out to various manufacturers. I have talked to various manufacturers privately, I'm not going to name any names, about who to work with on this project. I have presented various opportunities with how to work together going forward with this particular idea, with the types of modifications that I want to make to the product that existed that I didn't think was good enough yet or perfect yet, with the support for the device that I cared about going forward. And I did not receive favorable responses, okay, to approach this project with some of those players. So that's all I'm going to say on that matter. But it kind of creates a scenario in which you still want to solve this problem, but you have to go about it your own. You have to go about it your own way. So, just to restate things, this venture, this experiment has been about. It has been about finding little areas of improvement. I would use the word refinement to say what the process has been like. Of course, I knew that this material existed. I knew that this was on the planet, and I felt that there was more that could be done with it. It might not be the last material that I work with. If the attributes can hold true over to other materials, as OnePlus has shown off with the sandstone texture, as this early version model of what wood could look like, if I can get it to match the attributes I'm looking for, I'm going to consider it. And for anybody saying that they can deliver me this Pixel case to my specification for $3, I want to hear from you. I don't want to deny that you exist. I want to hear from you. I want to work together, if that's possible. For the time being, I'm out here swimming because the water is moving. And I got to keep moving too. It's like a shark. You know, they don't sleep. Sort of. You got to keep moving, man. You can't sit around and wait for permission. Stuff doesn't get done. You know, you got to hope that people can kind of pick up on the pace of things and get moving on stuff. We're running out of time over here. Just in general, if you have things you want to execute, like I said, just these modifications, this process, 7 months.
That's a lot of time and investment.
I mean, how many 7-month chunks do you have to hope, to cross your fingers? Oh, somebody's gonna listen to me and actually develop and execute, and actually listen to when I say no, it can't be like that. It's gotta. I need you to look at the cut again.
The time, the money, the patience,
the risk. The risk when when you take this stuff, I don't know, I didn't share pictures yet. When you got the warehouse full of the stuff, man, I'll tell you, and these little alterations and refinements matter to you. Now you gotta go tell everyone.
Yeah.
You gotta hope it matters to them. You see? Now I know it mattered to some of you because, like I said, I saw the support. I saw everybody. I saw everybody who came out in support. And I know there's going to be more of you after this right here. I know there's going to be more of you. And so to you guys, obviously, there's a sense of appreciation and trust. And that's cool. You know, it's cool. You go out on a limb. You think you're the only weirdo. It turns out other people might appreciate things you appreciate.
Yeah.
When somebody goes and has that weird click on the corner and they go, oh, that's nice. It's a nice fit.
The little nuances.
Yeah, just know you had to tell somebody 15 times they had to fit like that. Just you had to tell somebody 15 times.
You sound like Johnny Ives right now.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Because he left Apple, so now there's a vacancy.
Yeah.
Nah, I need to get away from that. I did not reinvent the wheel, to be clear. The dramatic video made it seem, I discovered fire or something. I did not stop it. this is just some small refinements. And anyone who wants to help me in this space to do better, to continue down this path of refinement, I'm listening. Email Will. I'm Lew at lewlater.com. Email Will at lewlater.com. The phone lines are open. I just want to get work done. That's it.